How's it going, everybody? This is Oliver Manalese here.
Christopher Lim.
You're watching the Holistic Entrepreneur Radio Show. We are on every week, Thursday at 8 p.m. I think we're on episode 15 now.
I don't know. You keep saying it, and I'm just like, whatever.
I keep saying it's the 15th. I think last time I said it was the 15th episode.
Are you sure?
I don't know. I guess it doesn't really matter, but we've been going strong for weeks.
For weeks, yeah.
And a lot of good, positive vibes are being sent our way, so that's been really good.
Yeah.
Very positive for us. So in case this is the first episode, I've compiled a list of things to talk about so that people are aware of what they're getting themselves into.
We should give a shout out to Andy Mack, because he's always watching the show.
Andrew
and he
McDonald.
thought we were off for a couple weeks.
Shout out
McDonald, man.
To
we're here,
Mr. McDonald.
If you're watching live, if not,
common name, uncommon entrepreneur inspiration.
Yeah,
that guy has.
He's well on his way.
This one's for you. He's one of our dedicated viewers. He watches every episode, he says. Never misses a beat.
Yeah, because he thought we did miss
except for the week that he thought that we weren't on. And that, part of that is because of Hootsuite. I made like a general broadcast so that people can see that, on Twitter, on Facebook, and on the Holistic Entrepreneur page simultaneously. But what I didn't realize is I changed the password on my Facebook account.
Oh, serious?
Yeah, people I keep seeing like people trying to hack stuff. It's really weird.
Really? On your account?
In my Google accounts. So I've been forced to just like change them all because they're all like similar passwords. I rotate a bunch of them, right? So I changed the password and Hootsuite didn't register it on the Facebook.
Yeah, of course.
It went on the page, on the Holistic Entrepreneur page, but it didn't go on the personal page, which I'm assuming he might be looking at. Mm-hmm. And as well, we did have a couple of changes with the YouTube channel. I'm not really...
The YouTube channel? Was it a YouTube channel or Ustream?
The Ustream channel was changed. It was /Oliver-Manalese after Ustream.tv, etc., etc.
I thought it was under Meridius.
No, it was under my name. Yeah, okay. And then now it's after /Holistic-Entrepreneur.
Oh, okay.
So if they want to watch all the older episodes on Ustream, you have to go to... Actually, the best place to go to is the youtube.com/Meridius Media.
It's not under Holistic Entrepreneur.
And Holistic Entrepreneur, we've been putting the highlights there. But I just find it's really tough to manage
doing highlights,
creating the highlights, and kind of finding them.
I need somebody to do that for us.
If someone's interested in donating, donating some time, going through our video content and trying to find some of the top 5 highlights of each episode, we can keep that going because sometimes it's kind of hard to digest.
The
whole 2 hours.
It's getting there,
right? Yeah,
virtual assistant.
I don't know. We'll see. We have to make some money out of this. Yeah. We have to find sponsors, or I don't know, do some commercials for something. See if we can raise some money to get this thing going. And you know what? Thank you for watching.
Eventually,
this is our passion project here.
Yeah. So it's just us today.
Well, yeah, we're the special guests.
We're the special guests
for you guys. We're the community. So essentially, who this show is for?
If you go through that.
Yeah, let me go through the thing. Yeah. So who this is actually for is for anybody who is interested in having a holistic type of lifestyle. So you could be a business person, you could be in sales, you could be an artist, you could be an investor, you could be a freelancer, somebody who is out venturing on their own, or about to venture out on their own as an entrepreneur. And essentially, what it's for is for people who want to redefine what the meaning of wealth and success actually is. And we talk about how it all starts with self-knowledge, self-love, self-mastery as the core of becoming wealthy and successful in all different aspects of your life.
I saw this picture. I'm gonna find it.
Do it up. And cool. I mean, success is more than just a number in the bank. So that's what we try to talk about here. Is that it's not just about money. It's about fulfillment. It's about being happy. It's about having great relationships. About
all aspects
being
of your
healthy.
life.
Yeah. Because we're multidimensional beings. We're not made to just be focused only on our health or focused only on our relationships. It's the whole shebang. So why would you be listening to this show? Well, I mean, we talk about everything. Like I said, all those different topics, all the different spheres of your life we're going to be touching upon and having amazing guests on the show like we've had in the last couple of weeks. We've had holistic nutritionists. We've had real estate business coaches. We've had real estate people on here. We've had entrepreneurs, like serial entrepreneurs on the show. And I think that there's a lot of value to be had, and we want to create this show as a catalyst for people who are, having trouble making a decision or having trouble, in different aspects of their life and not getting, maybe any attention or focus on the parts that they're not putting time into. And maybe you listen to one of the episodes and you realize, it's like, oh my gosh, I like the way that guy thinks, or I like the way that girl thinks. And you start taking on the little gems from each episode and trying it on. And
incorporating little things into your life and getting a holistic life.
Exactly. And so it all starts at the level of the self, and that's really what we talk about. It's all about the self-discovery. This is, I guess, corny as it is, I guess it's a self-help almost show, kind of, a little bit. And you know what? The key of the self-help part is that we're not going to help you. You have to help yourself.
We teach that to the kids. I teach that to my kids all the time. Listen, I can't force you to do anything. I can show you the way, but you're the one who has to go do it.
Yeah. We could be guides.
Yeah.
We can offer advice, and how people always say, I made these mistakes and I'm telling you so that you can avoid it. Well, most of the time people will still make those mistakes. And it's like we don't listen sometimes, and it gets kind of annoying, right? Where it's like, oh my god, that person was right. They told me to avoid this. And now, I had to go through it and waste all this money and time and effort and whatever it is. But hopefully, we can bring enough people and have enough episodes and shows, and maybe we can reduce that a little bit and help accelerate
that learning curve.
Yeah.
You don't have to go through as many mistakes as we've done.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's the point of life, right? So that the next generations don't have to go through as much.
Every generation should be better.
Yeah.
Should improve.
Be a newer model.
Exactly. And there's what is that? The only reason why we're successful is because I've stood on the shoulders of giants. Is one of those quotes.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's how it is. We want to offer it to the next generation.
That's the way it's got to be.
So if you're watching for the first time, make sure to like our Facebook page. You can find us on Facebook, Holistic Entrepreneur, YouTube channels, search for Holistic Entrepreneur, as well as Meridius Media for the episodes. We're on this channel live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Make sure to like the page, share it if you find value in it. And you know what? Let us know what you think. We've been getting a lot of good feedback and a lot of good comments, and it helps us get an idea of what we should be talking about.
Yeah, of course. So I found that thing.
Dude, that looks sick. I don't even know. Did you make that?
No, I just found it. So it says, I am a holistic entrepreneur. My love, life, work, spirituality are not separate.
Dude, put it right to the screen.
We'll put it on the
Facebook page.
On our Facebook page.
Yeah, I am a holistic entrepreneur. That is so cool, man. Yeah, what does it say at the bottom? My love, life, work, spirituality are not separate. And you know what? That is
but that's exactly what it is.
Who made that? That is so cool.
It's brandharmonystudio.com. Holistic business resource.
That picture is from our website.
Is it?
The Holistic Entrepreneur. Oh, look. That's awesome, man. I like that.
Yeah, well, somebody doing probably something very similar to what we're doing.
Yeah, we should contact them and see what they're up to. Brand Harmony Studio. Anyways, so that's really what it's all about. It's about realizing that it's all connected. There's no real personal and business life. It's
everything.
Everything all impacts everything else. Yeah. Exactly. And you know what? Some things are.
It is. It's from our website.
That's from our website. Yeah. I guess it was just on the images. Yeah. But one of the biggest things that I've been coming across from the people that I've been talking to, entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, not they're coming to me for any help or whatever it is. But, they want to, as a sounding board, they kind of want to hear the advice. And as much as I would love to give advice, I would wish I could give someone a tip sheet and just be like, hey, just follow these tips and you're good to go. It just does not, unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. You don't get this magic pill and
you take it and you're good to go.
And you're good to go.
Right.
It all comes are you curious enough yourself to go out and seek some of this information? Can you go and decide yourself and do it? Just because I keep seeing a lot of people who are, they're holding back. They're scared. They're preventing themselves from taking the next step, whether it's quitting their job and becoming a full-time entrepreneur or kind of just hammering this stuff out.
Yeah, I think it happens all the time. Fears. We talked about this on the last show, right? That we as humans are predestined to overestimate the negative things, right? Overestimate fears and underestimate opportunities. That's just the way that we were we were programmed. But I think the important thing is if you realize that, then, knowing's half the battle, right? So if you can realize that, then at least that's the first step. Knowing that if we are consistently overestimating things that are fearful in our life, then we can make a conscious effort and make a conscious decision to make sure those fears are minuscule. They're small, right?
Because it's never going to go away.
No, it's never going to go away.
There's so many things that are ingrained inside of us from society, from the way we were raised, that these mentalities, it's going to take a long time to break them down and kind of, like avoid them in the future. But I think being aware that it's there, like these different types of fears, then you're able to make a different choice when a new opportunity arises. You're like, oh, there it is again. Like, why am I so worried about this?
Yeah.
What's going on? Instead of just like doing your automatic action, which is just avoid what you were about to do and pull back and like, self-sabotage.
Self-sabotage is a big one. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Because that was something that I know Michelle is very aware of. When we first moved away, we lived in New Jersey for a while, and she was in sales. And end of the month, closing time, right? A lot of the time she would self-sabotage because she was just afraid. And it's a big thing, yeah. But once you recognize it, once you know, half the battle is right there. Then you can do something about it.
I think you can do something about it because you're aware of it. Like you have to. I mean, if you're not curious enough to do like an inventory on yourself, kind of go through like, well, what are the things that I'm feeling, on a weekly basis, and what are these things that always come up?
Yeah,
like worry or fear or procrastination or just avoiding things or self-sabotage. If you can like take an inventory of these things, you're already ahead of the game. You've already started to like self-analyze instead of just going with the flow and just being a slave to your emotions. Like just being taken by it. It's like, oh, I'm having a bad day and that's it, and like everything is downhill.
Close up shop.
Yeah, might as well just
give up. Forget it. Rest of the day.
Yeah, but if you're aware of it, you can stop yourself. You can be like, oh wait, there's that fear again. Like it's like, and I can see why I'm scared because like I've faced the situation before.
Yeah.
And then you can assess like, wow, look at the way my life turned out when I made that bad decision before.
Yeah, when I chose to freaking throw in the towel before.
Yeah,
and nothing now fucking changed.
I'm having an opportunity again. Like the universe has brought me another opportunity at this moment. And am I going to make the same mistake, or am I going to try something new?
Yeah,
and I guess that's the thing about being an entrepreneur. It's like you're stepping into the unknown.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the beautiful thing about being an entrepreneur is you, as an entrepreneur, you are always going to be thrust into those situations. Like there's always going to be opportunities. There's always going to be things that come up. But the beautiful thing as an entrepreneur is you're equipped to handle those things. And that's your steady day-to-day life, is making those adjustments, which is beautiful. But as opposed to, the person who's working the 9-to-5 job, it's just consistent. Nothing ever changes. They're never put into that opportunity, or that opportunity never comes up, or they're never
on the edge. They're not vulnerable.
They never put themselves on that edge. They never put themselves in that uncomfortable position to make things change. Whereas an entrepreneur, that's your job, is to
manage the change.
Manage the change. Find out where you need to make changes and put yourselves in those positions to make those changes.
And just adapt.
And adapt. You have to. I mean, that's, as an entrepreneur, that's your business. Your business is you got to look at all sides of it, right?
And you know what? I think that's the hardest thing to grasp, is when you are a 9-to-5, like you're shielded from all this. You're shielded from what's going, like if you're working a 9-to-5, let's say you're just a paper pusher, you're like in administration. If someone's not buying or someone's not selling, or that stuff doesn't bother you.
No.
Like that doesn't impact you at all.
No.
Because you're going to get your paycheck, you're putting your time in, you're going to get paid, and whatever's happening on the front lines.
It will.
It eventually will, but you're shielded from like being even as impacted by it. You might know about it, but it's not the same as if you're a solo entrepreneur or you're a freelancer. You have to be producing.
Yeah.
You have
you're
to
on
be
the front line.
Yeah, you're on the front line. You have to be working. You have to be putting stuff together, putting value into customers' hands in order to get paid.
Yeah.
And you're not like, you are completely vulnerable to what the market does. And if someone wants your products or someone complains about your services or whatever it is, you're on the front line.
Yeah, you're on the front line.
That's
you're
scary.
on the edge. You have to be listening to the market. You have to know how the market's changed. You got to be able to adapt to it. Where
Completely.
no, you're on the back end. If you're just paper pushing, you're just pushing the papers that the people on the front end are putting together.
Yeah.
Where you are a lot more vulnerable on the back end, because if the front line doesn't produce, I mean, that frontline person can go and do something else. I mean, if you know sales is probably one of the most important skills you need to learn. If you can do sales at this job, you can do the sales at this job, right?
Dude, I think, you know what? Like, there's a lot of people that you and I both know that are just getting into entrepreneurship, or kind of like stepping into becoming a full-time entrepreneur, and their backgrounds are not in sales. Like, they haven't had the experience of being in a, commission-based situation, or where the glass ceiling is kind of raised or it's eliminated because you're on a commission-based type of job. I think that's the hardest part to wrap your head around. Someone who is, door knocked and sold like vacuums would have less of an issue failing and then having to start over again and selling a different type of product than someone who was, at the same job for 10 years, 9 to 5 for 10 years, all of a sudden gets laid off because their job has been shipped over to China and India. Yeah. And then now what do you do? Like,
exactly.
You become like an insurance broker or like a mortgage broker or something like that, where it's all you. It's all up to you. But you've never had that type of experience where, I don't know where my next paycheck's going to come.
And everything
I have to go after and find business on my own.
Yeah.
But the salesperson, they can be put in any situation, and they have that ability to be self-reliant.
Yeah.
They can create that income. They can stimulate revenue.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing that some of the people are lacking.
And
you guys could tell us, is that something that you might be challenged with? The fact that you don't have sales experience and now you're, first-time entrepreneur, that could be a big issue.
Yeah. That could be a huge issue, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sales is, because really sales, it's not about the product, it's about the other person, right? Yeah. It's about giving that other person what they need. If you know how to connect with that customer and give them what they need, that's sales. It's not about the product. So as a salesperson, if you know sales, you could sell anything. Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is.
And from what I'm realizing, and you know what, I don't think you can ever master something like sales. I think it's a constant practice. I think it's something you always have to be like, you're always in the learning curve. But I'm trying to understand it more as like, you have to be good at getting the truth out of people. Like, you have to be good at asking questions and finding out exactly what people's intentions are, so that you can deliver. Because you're not going to be, I'm not going to go to your door. I'm like, hey Chris, how's it going? Nice to see you. Yeah, you know what? I got some vacuums, and you want a vacuum? Like, I'm selling them. That's a poor sales job.
Yeah.
Because they're like, what the hell are you doing at my door? Or you could come in, knock on the door and be like, hey Chris, how's it going? It's like, good. Yeah, you know what? I'm just in the neighborhood. Yeah, one of my clients over here just bought a new vacuum, so just wanted to find out if you might, know anybody that might be interested in getting like some vacuum products or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to drop by and say hi. Like, that's a completely different
approach.
Conversation, different type of relationship, different type of sales, just more consulting and more asking questions and trying to find out, like, I don't want to try and sell you, but, I'm already here. And if you know anybody, then I would love to help them out if they are interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a great script. That's a great point.
Yeah.
But sales, I mean, you got to know how to sell.
Yeah.
It's huge.
And you know what? It's not even how to sell. It's like how to let people buy.
How to let people, yeah.
You want to get out of the way of people to let them buy what they've already wanted to buy. You just have to get out of the way, or like just lube up the pathway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Make it easy for them to make the decision.
But I brought this book, which we've talked about before. Think and Grow Rich. If you have not read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, you are absolutely crazy to be an entrepreneur without this Bible. It was written in 1938, or published 1938 or 19. I
think it was 38 or 37. No, it was 38. I think it
was 1937 or something like that.
Something like that.
That's okay.
Because That Winning the Devil was written in 38 or 39.
Yeah.
It was 38 or 39.
It was a long time ago. Really long time ago. And you know what? The things that we talk about here is like, none of it is, we don't have, like, there's not an original thought in my head. You know what I mean? And the people who come here, as much as we love them and respect them and admire them, there's not an original thought in their head either. Like, all this stuff, there's truth underlying, and it goes beyond time. And that's why something like Think and Grow Rich is so relevant even 70 or 80 years later. I
Yeah.
think it'll be relevant forever.
Well, it's because a lot of these ideas, we adopt the ideas as our own truth, our own values. That's stuff that we have learned and personally, developed ourselves to take onto our lives and this truth for us. And we pass that along. But yeah, I mean, we don't come up with that stuff ourselves. We have been influenced by people. We stood on the shoulders of giants. We stood on the shoulders of people who have been there before us, and we adopt their principles as our own.
And you know what? It's so funny because I remember when Muhammad was here. Was that last week or the week before? Or was it last week? Yeah, when Muhammad was here last week, he was just talking about how when he was younger, he never really cared for history. And it's like, why am I reading this? This already happened. Like, who cares? Yeah. Well, history repeats itself. And the other thing is there's a lot of things that people discover and learn in history that is applicable today. And that's the reason why history is so important. Yeah. And it's like, this guy was able to tap into the histories of like over 100 like multi-millionaires who started from nothing. Yeah. So who are you going to go to? You're going to go like trek it on your own without any help? Or would you go to someone who actually did their research, right? Like Napoleon Hill.
Well, yeah, I think it's also important to differentiate what sort of history are we talking about. Like in school, world history and what happened in Canada and the US.
A lot of that is
interest that. I have no interest in that
boring.
One. That history, that's not the history.
The purpose of that, I think, honestly, the purpose of that history is to just get you into a mindset of like patriotism. Yeah. And not really to educate, and really understand the lessons of history.
Yeah. The history that we're discussing is, the stories of great people.
Yeah.
Leaders. What ideas did they have? What was going through their minds?
Philosophies of success.
So we're talking about biographies and autobiographies and, manuals like Think and Grow Rich. We're not talking about, the war of whatever, and whatever.
Yeah, not spitting out facts. Yeah. I want stuff that's tangible, stuff that I can apply into my life right now.
That's the history that we're talking about.
Yeah, that's more important to me.
So just differentiating the history that we're discussing. And not that some people it's very interesting to them. Not necessarily interesting to us. Not the type of history that we're talking about.
Yeah. That other
history is
it's
boring for us.
It's boring for us.
I'm sure it's very interesting to other people.
So if you haven't picked up the book, the last chapter is actually called The 6 Ghosts of Fear. And I just think I want to talk about it because today I was in a very... Honestly, I'll admit I was complaining a lot today.
Really?
About a lot of different things.
Well, Michelle was talking a little bit about that.
She told you?
Yeah. Not a lot. She just said you were
Oliver was complaining a lot?
It was a rant day for you.
It was a rant day for me. And it had a lot to do with just the conversations that I've had, on Facebook, on Skype, on the phone, face-to-face, with a bunch of different people. I don't need to name names because that's not really relevant. What's important to note is that the reason why I'm complaining and it pisses me off a little bit is because I see myself in those people and I've been in their shoes before. Right. And it's like you're that guy. You're just like, learn from my freaking mistakes already and just listen to me and just go. You know what I mean? And just go and do it.
Just go and do it. Yeah.
There's so many people who are just let's say there's one guy and he wants to become he wants to become super successful and maybe for let's try and relate it back to me. Let's not talk about the other person because that's not important. I can't speak for that person. For myself, I wanted to be an entrepreneur for a long time, and there's a period where I kind of forgot about it. But there was a period where I talked a lot about entrepreneurship, and I almost got so much satisfaction from telling people than actually doing it. Yeah. I was like, hey, Chris, man, I got this wicked business idea, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a freaking millionaire in 5 years, and be financially free in 5 years, and this is why. And you're so amped up, you're so hyped up, right? Because you just left a seminar, you just finished reading, you just put down a book, and you got so much value, so much inspiration, so much passion about it, and you just want to tell the whole world, right? And you're just like on Facebook, freaking, I'm amped up because I'm accomplishing this and that, and this is what I just landed, and What I realized looking back is that there was so much external validation that I was trying to get. Right. And it was like, I just wanted to go and tell people and show people how much I knew about real estate and about business and entrepreneurship and the economy, excuse me. And that was enough. I was talking so much, I forgot to walk because everyone's approval was like, I already got it. Like I was already satisfied. My thirst was quenched just from people being like, "Oh wow, and that's so awesome!" Like investing in real estate. Well, that's risky, and all these different things. Or you want to be your own boss, and yeah, that's really risky. You shouldn't do it. And like you kind of feel good for the fact that, oh, I'm different. I'm different than everybody else, and I'm better than everybody else because I'm doing this path that no one has gone through before, which is something that I eventually evolved
out of.
Yeah. Whereas now it's like I only seek validation for myself. I don't need to tell the whole world this is what I just accomplished and this is what feels really good for me today, and just listing them off and just or name dropping or just continually just dropping like so much information on people about how good I'm doing and how amazing my life is. You know why I evolved from that? Because I realized no one cares.
Nobody gives a shit.
No one's watching you. No one cares about what you're doing in your life. Only you do. And from doing it, you're just trying to get people's approval.
Yeah.
Right? And I just think it's one of those things where you keep coming with the same problem, which is, hey man, like I really hate my job and fuck, like it's just, one step closer, like eventually I'll have to quit my job. And it's like, dude, you've been telling me this month after month, year after year that you hate what you're doing. Why are you still here? Like, that is the definition of insanity.
Right.
You want something to change, but you keep doing the same thing? It's like, don't come to me with this stuff anymore. Like, I don't need to hear it.
Yeah.
That's what the podcast is for now, which is, like, for us to talk to people and kind of, just be like send them over here for the conversation, right? Just quit wasting time, because the further you wait, the longer you wait, the further your goal becomes, And it sucks because I get so vested into people's stories and I get so inspired by what their possibilities. I can see it in their eyes what is possible for them. If only they could actually see what was possible for themselves.
Well, that's a big thing. Most people don't. They underestimate themselves greatly. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting because from my recollection, because I mean, geez, I've never really had a full-time job. I was always sales, right? But from what I can remember, I was completely different. I never told anybody about what I was doing or what I was into or what plans I had on the horizon. I always really kept it to myself. Or
you didn't care, eh? You didn't need that validation at all.
Or I would talk to my wife,
closest,
or people who were closest to me, but sort of the other people outside of, let's say, 3-4 of my closest friends and family, I didn't tell anybody. Like, I was never really trying to influence anybody or talk to anybody else. It was always just, well, this is what I'm thinking of doing because this is what I think is right for me, and I don't know.
I'm going to do what's right for me.
Yeah, this is what I feels right. I don't really give a fuck what anybody else thinks. I'm just going to do, or never really tried to influence anybody else. Not that I recall. Like, I don't ever, I do remember going to
trying to show
seminars.
off
No, I mean, we would go to seminars and people always ask, right? Especially, Millionaire Mind or Tony Robbins,
Rich Dad,
Rich Dad. So people ask, but I don't ever remember really recalling, this is what I do, this is what you should do. I don't ever remember really doing that.
That's good, man. I think you have a more evolved soul, I think.
But I'm also, like, when I started, well, I guess I was an entrepreneur, because I'm trying to think of when I was your age.
So 70...
Because you started, I mean, your path, you're a lot further down the path than where I was.
Okay, like you in terms of when you were my age.
Yes.
Yeah, because I met you when you were my age.
Well, difference, right? When I was your age, I already had Brooklyn, but...
Exactly.
Yeah, but I wasn't, in terms of entrepreneurship level and self-development, I wasn't where you were. Where you are, I should say. At that age. Because I already had 2 kids by that time. Yeah, it's a little bit slower.
It's totally different, man. Totally
to get
different.
through all those books.
You know what? Everyone has their own journey, and everyone has their own.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone's going to evolve, but I just really, I want to be able to somehow accelerate that.
But I think that's the thing that we need to realize as well is
I don't want to.
Everybody has their own journey. I mean, we can sort of discuss how we did things and how we, sort of lay out a path, but they got to walk through the path themselves. They got to walk the path themselves. Mm-hmm. This is the path that I took. These are the lessons that I learned. Take take from it what you want, but you're gonna have to fucking walk out of those doors and quit that job and start your own business. I can't start a fucking business for you.
You know what it is? Okay, I think I'm starting to really get a hold on what that is. The seeking of approval and trying to get other people on board with the same thing. I think it's because when you're an entrepreneur, you're on your own, man. Like, there's a lot of solitude.
Yeah.
It's a lonely place to be. There's so much competition for the job market. Like, it's this big. Like, there's a ton of people who are looking for the, you know, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year job. There's a ton of competition. And over here is the, like, you can't even see. Over here is like the tiny entrepreneur field, like where you're going to start your own business, your own service, you're going to be on your own, and then everyone else is over here. When you're out venturing on your own, like, and starting your own business, you can't relate to a lot of people.
No, you can't relate to a lot of people.
There's a lot of things that you can't relate to people about. It's, you know, how you spend your time. You know, if you're on your own schedule and it's all up to you, oh my gosh, that's completely outside of the norm already.
Yeah.
You know, like, how much you work, you won't believe how much you work. You'll probably work like double the amount of time that you do in your regular job.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to build something for yourself. The ability to hire staff and create employment opportunity for people because you're generating revenue. And like, that's a different place to be. And I don't think a lot of people can relate to that because they're on one end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Like, they're shielded from that.
Yeah.
When you're
80-90% of the population, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think it's lonely, man.
I could absolutely very lonely. But it's great to have businesses like your business, right? Where you have a company and they have a path for you to take. So there are people, there are mentors. But what you're talking about and what I'm seeing when you're talking about is somebody like John, like my brother, John, restaurateur, completely like business made from an idea and evolved from an idea.
Yeah.
Where he's blazing a path that nobody's ever walked before.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad did it, but you know, he's taking that next step, and what he's going to be doing over the next 5, 10, 15 years, that's all going to be from his idea, right? I mean, there is no blueprint for really what he's doing. It's beautiful to have your business where there is somebody.
There's a lot more provable.
Yeah, it's a provable business model where you
can get a sample size. Well, a good sample size of people.
So there's a business there. There is an exit strategy already built in, that's fantastic. But yeah, I mean, if you're an entrepreneur and you're creating a new product or some new service or you're inventing a new gadget or whatever, and that's completely brand new. I mean, as an entrepreneur like that,
you have no one to relate to.
Who are you going to talk to?
Yeah, who are you going to talk to about how hard it is to invent a new product and how long it takes to process patents or whatever it is you do? Like, you can't have that conversation with a ton of people. And it's like, yeah, and then as soon as that happens, like, as soon as, let's say if you're a real estate investor, that's the closest one that we can relate to, really. As soon as you have your like a second property or your first rental property that's not yours, you're already part of like the 1%. You know, you're already part of this group of people of, you know, I rent to people, I make cash flow, you know, someone else is paying my mortgage. It's just like, what do you mean someone else is paying your mortgage? Like, some people can't understand that.
Yeah.
And the conversation changes. You've stepped away from this this type of conversation of just like whatever, like the I guess middle class that everyone else is talking about, to something else where you're trying to build wealth. You're trying to do something with your life. You're trying to build your asset base, right? And then like that's a whole different conversation. I think because you have less people to relate to or even have that conversation with, to have a stimulating conversation about your industry, you just notice it immediately. Wow, I can't talk to my sister, my brother, my family, my friends about this, and there's only like this small group of people over here that I've only met because of this that I can actually relate to.
Yeah, they understand what I'm going through.
It makes it lonely, man.
Yeah, it is. It's a very small group. But once you find that group, it's fantastic, because then you have people that you can relate to, people you can talk to, and people you can actually share ideas with. Because you can't really share those ideas with the 90%.
Yeah, because it won't mean anything to them. Like, not that it's bad or good. It's just It's not important to them.
Yeah.
They don't need to hear about your business ideas. They don't need to hear about it. Unless they express interest. They don't really need to. They're not going to be curious about it. Really.
Yeah, and they're not contributing. I don't know. For me, that became very clear. They're not. If you're not contributing to my life, then you don't really need to be in it. Like, why am I talking to you? I'm wasting my time.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think a lot of entrepreneurs get that. I mean, they eventually get to that point where
exactly. It's like hey, you know what?
This relationship.
It's like, hey, Chris, I'm in we have this relationship, and the reason is because I really want to focus on my business and improve my business, and I find that we have like minds, and this is where it's going. And if it doesn't, then we can't really have the same type of relationship anymore. If it doesn't have that mutual benefit type of thing, right?
And entrepreneurs are very receptive to that. They feel it, right? I mean, I know you feel it when you have conversations with people. It's like
they crave it. They want to have this stimulated conversation. They want to have people that they can relate to, someone who understands what they're going through. Because the hardest thing is to come home and your kids and your wife or your spouse or whatever, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, or whatever it is, like your parents, they don't understand your life. They don't understand what you're doing. Yeah. It's like if you work from home, it looks like you're just always home, but really you're doing you're working from home. Like there's work happening there. Yeah. It seems like it's cushy because you're doing your work on the porch. You're on the laptop on the porch and you're on the phone in your backyard, but you're getting shit done. Yeah. It may look glorious. It might look luxurious, but it's not. It's like there's work there.
Yeah. It's actually something's happening. It looks comfortable, but you're really uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. It's really uncomfortable.
You have to be okay with.
You have to be okay with being uncomfortable.
Like you don't know what's going to happen next.
And I think that's part of being an entrepreneur.
And the whole thing is, it's like you can see what's possible for yourself, but at the same time, 6 months from now, you can be in a totally different place, thinking about completely different things. Like even me right now, I look back 6 months, I would never imagine where I'd be right now.
Right now,
it's like I wouldn't be able to plan for my July 2012 version of myself. 6 months ago, how could I? Yeah, I didn't know where this is where I'd be. Yeah, and some years it's even different.
Well, you had an idea. I mean, you had an idea.
Yeah, you have a sort of an idea.
You had an idea. You had a plan. I mean, you had a plan that this is what I want to do. This is how many listings. This is door knock I'm going to do, and it will result in this. And so, I mean, you had an idea.
There's an idea, but it's not like
I'm just going to sit on my couch and this.
Or this is where I'm like. It's more like this is where my mind would be.
Yes,
this is what's happening in my head and how I feel. Like you can't predict that stuff.
No. Yeah,
I don't think it's easy to predict.
Okay, I thought you were talking about in
terms of what the results would be. Yeah. That's the whole point of being an entrepreneur is having that vision of this is the desired result that I have. Yes, this much units sold, or this much revenue, or this much gross profit, or whatever it is. Like you have that number as a goal, but how you're going to get there and how you're going to feel and think and vision things at that point, you can never think about it. You're going to have an idea, you're going to have a new relationship or a new contact that can change everything for you, and you have no idea, but you got to be receptive to it. Yeah. And if you're delaying becoming a full-time entrepreneur, you're going to miss out on all that shit. Yeah. You're going to miss out on all the opportunity because you're already behind. You're behind. Yeah. You're behind from who you could have been and what you should be.
Well, that's where it all happens, right? When you get out of your comfort zone, that's where those contacts come. Yeah. That's where your referrals come. When you are outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah, you're on the edge. That's where
the shit happens.
You're on the edge of your comfort zone. That's it.
Because that's when you're out there, that's what you're attracting. That's what your energy is attracting. You're out there. You're thinking about. I'm looking for a referral. I'm looking for next contact. I'm looking for this. I'm looking for that. Right. And yeah, if your energy is out there, if you're on that edge and you're outside your comfort zone, the universe will bring those people to you.
I know.
You just got to get out of the comfort zone
and do it. The universe can only do so much. If you're not acting in concert with it, then nothing's gonna happen. Yeah. Like I have a great role playing partner from my brokerage, and she's awesome, man. Pumped, amped up, enthusiastic, really good accountability partner as well. And I was just mentioning to her, and she felt really inspired by this. That she kind of didn't feel like door knocking one day, and I told her, just remember, as soon as you knock on that first door, you're already part of the 1%. That's all you need to think about.
Nice.
As soon as you knock on the door, you're doing something that no other realtor, like a small amount of realtors are actually doing.
Right.
Which is door knocking. And that, like, if you just think about it, like, wow, yeah. If I want to earn as much as the 1%, if I want to have a lifestyle that only the 1% gets to enjoy, I'm going to do as many things as possible that gets me to that side.
Yeah.
So if I have a second property and it's rental property, that's already got me down to the, like the 5% of Canadians or whatever that own a second property.
Yeah.
If I door knock, then I'm part of the 5% or whatever it is of actual successful realtors who door knock, and I stand out by that much. I think that's a huge distinction to have, is that as soon as you decide to become an entrepreneur, then you're on that receiving end of potential, of possibility. Yeah. And the longer you delay it, the further away it is. And you're just missing out. And you know what? A lot of people are missing out on the value that you could bring into their lives. If you're passionate about changing the world, if you're passionate about impacting people in a positive way, and you have ideas and services and products and different things that you do or create or provide that can help enhance these people's lives, the longer you wait to do it, you are depriving these people.
You're actually providing a disservice.
You're providing a disservice. People are at a loss. People are not as happy. The world is not as benefited because you have not stepped up.
You've not stepped up.
You did not step to the edge of your comfort zone. So think about that. How many people out there are at a loss because you're not there to provide that service?
Yeah,
I think that is people really need to think about that.
Yeah, we talked about that before too.
Yeah.
When we had our business, if we're not providing that service, we are providing the world with a disservice.
It's a disservice. Like, imagine Think and Grow Rich. Imagine Napoleon Hill never got the balls to publish it or got the balls to write it. How many millions of people?
Oh yeah.
How many businesses? How many employment opportunities? How much growth and experience and potential and abundance would have been missed out on? That would be freaking sad.
If he was just like, I don't really need to interview 100 people.
Yeah.
Let me just do one or two.
Exactly. People would be at a loss. Like, the world is not a better place. You want to know that as an entrepreneur, you're leaving the world as a better place. Yeah. And the more time you waste, the less people you're helping, and the less people are being impacted by your positive energy.
True.
So think about that one.
That's true. So we'll take a little.
That's what pisses me off.
I'm gonna get some more. I'm gonna get some more tea.
Do it.
We'll take a 20-minute. No, 20 minutes, but it's been about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
We'll take a.
Okay, I'll do a little commercial. We're gonna get some more tea.
Get some more tea.
All right, so if you guys are just tuning in, my name is Oliver Manley. Co-host is Christopher Lim. This is the Holistic Entrepreneur Radio Show. We have live every Thursday at 8 p.m. We love to talk about self-mastery, self-knowledge, self-love, and we believe that this is the core. This is actually the cause of your success. The success itself, the wealth, the abundance, the love, the joy, all that stuff, that is the symptom. Those are caused by focusing on this aspect of ourself, this working on ourselves. And that's what we talk about. That's what we talk about at Holistic Entrepreneur. And if you guys want to catch us live every Thursday, do so at ustream.tv/channel/holistic-entrepreneur. All full episodes are on youtube.com/Meridius Media. And please like our page at on Facebook. Search for Holistic Entrepreneur. And you can find both of us on Facebook as well.
Christopher G. Lim
and Oliver Manley's. Find us. You can find us on Facebook. And we'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments, and how you feel about the show and the direction that it's going. I'm pretty happy with it. It's been a crazy, crazy journey getting to this point. I think it's been like a year and a half, or maybe like a year and a half. That it was just like a thought, and like we just delayed and delayed and delayed.
Oh yeah, a year and a bit since we did the first episode,
and then finally it was just like, you know what? It's a disservice for us to not be doing this show. Yeah. It's a disservice for people to not be hearing this message.
Yeah, the time was right. We had the opportunity, and we took it.
Yeah, and now the timing has been more right.
Yeah,
just because more and more people are giving us such good feedback. It's like, whoa. Yeah, this is perfect.
I love the shit you're talking about. So you want to talk about? We want to get into that fear, right?
I wanted to get into the fear, man. Let's talk about the fear.
Let's talk about what the six ghosts of fear.
Okay, so the 6 ghosts of fear from Napoleon Hill.
Then we should. You know what I want to talk about too? Let's talk about going into the fear, let's talk also about Timothy Ferriss and how he overcomes fear.
We'll talk about that. Yeah, we'll talk about that
his
right after
to
this. There's really only 3 that we need to talk about of the 6 ghosts of fear. But this little caption right at the beginning of the chapter says, "Take inventory of yourself." So, in other words, self-analyze. To take notes on what is happening inside your life, inside your body, and what are you feeling, and what are you going through, right? As you read this closing chapter and find out how many of the ghosts are standing in your way, and that's what they are. Fear stand in your way. They're the biggest freaking hurdle. So the 3 that I want to go over is the fear of poverty, fear of criticism, and the fear of ill health. And he says that it's the most destructive fear of poverty.
Fear of poverty, yeah.
So
I think that's
here are the
huge
symptoms.
One for entrepreneurs
Yeah.
is the fear of poverty.
So here, okay, before we go into it, here are the symptoms of poverty: indifference, indecision, doubt, worry, overcaution, and procrastination. So if there's anything that's happening, indifference, it's like, I don't care if that happens. I don't care if it happens or not. Indecision, I don't know. What should I go with? Should I go with this product name or should I go with this product name? I don't know. Should I get an office space here or there? Or I don't know. Doubt. I don't think I can.
No, it's not going to work.
I don't think this is going to work. I don't think I can do it.
No, nobody's going to buy this.
No one's going to buy this, man. This is scaring the crap out of me. Worry. Okay, what am I going to do? I'm like negative 5,000 a month now. Like, what am I?
Yeah.
Like, how am I going to make
what
that stage?
I don't know what to say.
I don't know what to say to my wife. I don't know what to say to my family. Like, how the hell am I supposed to explain that I'm going to be a full-time entrepreneur?
Yeah.
Worry, overcaution. It's like, oh, you know what? We got to just make sure all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted, everything is in line. Everything's got to be perfect before we even go through with this thing. We got to make sure everything is perfect.
That's going back to overestimating negative things, overestimating dangers,
and then procrastination. So just putting it off. We'll get that we'll do it tomorrow. Like, I'll do it, next week. I don't have time for that right now. Forget it. We'll do it next week. I'll look for clients next week. I'll try and prospect next week.
Yeah.
So all these things are the symptoms of the actual fear of poverty. And fear of poverty is just, it's like a scarcity mentality. It's like, there's not enough out there.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid of not having anything. I'm afraid of not having income, of money coming in, or my lifestyle like changing and being on this rocky road of entrepreneurship.
Yeah. It's self-doubt, doubting yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Does it? I can't remember. Does it go into overcoming the fear?
He talks about.
It's been a while since I read that book.
So essentially, he goes through. So here, where is it here? So it's the most destructive fear.
Fear of poverty, yeah.
Fear of poverty, and what he says is that if you want riches, you must refuse to accept any circumstance that leads towards poverty. And the starting point of the path that leads to riches is desire. And the beginning of the book talks about desire. And you know what? And it's like, people realize that if you have something that you really want, something that you demand, like you deserve, like I absolutely deserve this type of lifestyle, the fear of poverty should diminish.
Yeah.
I think.
It should be there.
Maybe your goal isn't big enough. Maybe your vision isn't big enough if that's still standing in your way.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not worth it.
I think it's, looking at the contrast, if your vision is that big and you hold it so true, you can't have a fear of poverty. Like, you can't have those two feelings living simultaneously. Like, if this is your life, this is what you want, if you have it in you, your energy's there, your passion is there to go and get it, it's impossible to have a fear of poverty. You can't have those things.
You will never get what you want if you have the fear of poverty at all.
Because you'll never be able to take a step forward. Where, as an entrepreneur, you can't have that fear of poverty. It doesn't exist. This is what I want out of my life. This is what I want out of my business. This is what I want to do. I'm going to take my step forward. And you've already become an entrepreneur. It's impossible to have that fear of poverty.
You know what? And there's something about poverty where it's you can be broke or you could be in poverty. Broke is a situation. Poverty is a choice.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the mindset that I've decided to.
Yeah.
That I am poor. Like, I am in poverty.
Yeah.
That's the
Kiyosaki
difference.
talks about that all the time.
Yeah,
right?
it's a complete mind shift.
Yeah.
You could be broke at the moment, but are you
Poor.
Yeah, are you
Yeah.
poor? Like, are
Poor.
you? I
Or
think
poverty,
I think poverty is just like someone who has decided to not pursue,
try.
not even try,
Yeah.
or maybe they failed and they don't want to get back up. They don't want to. They don't want to try again.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? And it's just so funny. Like, and because we were talking about the whole sales thing, if you don't have that ability or that knowledge or experience to stimulate revenue and generate sales, I can see how fear of poverty could be a big one.
Oh yeah.
If you've never been able to raise, like a couple $1,000s from selling product or whatever it is, then yeah, I think it's understandable. You're gonna fear poverty.
Yeah.
So you got to find a workaround. You got to figure that out. Maybe you got to switch out jobs, go to a sales job, just so you can get out there. You don't have some sort of structure just to get that experience. That's what I did.
Yeah.
For like 3 years, I was in a job that was just pure sales, direct sales, like inbound, outbound, whatever it was. Like I was doing it because I knew that it would give me the ability to stimulate revenue and generate sales, no matter what profession I'm in.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, it's an interesting point because I don't know. I mean, I always had a sales job. I never had a regular 9 to 5.
Oh yeah.
But at that time, I don't think I thought, or maybe
How
I
valuable
probably did.
sales
Yeah.
was?
I never really thought of, this is where sort of the skills that I need to learn. I always just thought, this is the things that I'm interested in. This is the field I'm going to go into. So when I started off as a personal trainer out of college, right? So my first job, I was a personal trainer. And then I moved to the States and I was doing training there as well. And then even when I came back here, I was doing, sales. I've never had a 9 to 5. I always had a sales job, but I didn't.
That's why you're probably calm during the storm. You know what I mean?
Always.
That's why you're calm during the storms.
Yeah.
It's because you've been there before.
It's not a big thing for me, like sales. Okay, I've always done sales.
You got to
It's always
change
been sales.
Yeah. You lucked out. Not a lot of people have been in that situation.
But I don't think
where
I
they just-
didn't purposely put myself there. It was just like,
you
these are the
did-
things
yeah.
that interest me.
That was by default that you got into
just
sales.
sort of. Yeah, it just sort of
You
like.
skipped a huge hurdle that a lot of people would have.
Yeah, I
in
never
front of
really
them.
thought, I need a stable 9 to 5 so I can get a steady paycheck. It was always, these are the things that I'm interested in. This is where I want to go, and these are the jobs that are available to me based on my interest. I love the fitness. I went to school for science and exercise science, so I was like, okay, what kind of job can I get here? All right, personal training, great. I can do that. Mm-hmm. So then it ended up being, you sell training and you make money from it. Mm-hmm. I had to sell right away. It's like, okay, if I'm not selling anything, I don't have any clients and I can't train, I got no money. So I better start selling. So right away. But it was, absolutely. Right off the bat, having those lessons right out of college was great. But I didn't intentionally put myself there.
Yeah, it wasn't like your intention was entrepreneurship. So that's why
so
you
I
did
need
sales.
to learn how to sell. Yeah.
That's how my journey was.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I know
So
I
you were
got
a lot more self-aware.
I figured it out.
You figured it out
just from
early.
reading books like this that I should learn how to sell. When before I used to despise it. You know what I mean? I used to think it was a lower class job to sell. You know why? Just because the way they stigmatize it
of
with
course.
car salesmen.
Car salesmen,
But-
shoe salesmen. Yeah.
It's funny how the symptoms are indifference, indecision, doubt, worry, overcaution, procrastination. And I think that the fear of poverty is because you are not 100% sure about what you're doing. Like, you have not defined it clear enough. There's not enough fire behind what you're trying to achieve, I believe, if that fear is holding you back.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you'd be getting up in the morning. Otherwise, you'd be doing your thing. You'd be achieving it. You'd be taking action towards it.
Yeah.
So you got to look within and find out, why am I so scared if I know that I can capture this much market share? If I know that people want this, like, what am I scared of? Like, if I know that I can sell this property to replace my losses if this doesn't go through, like, what am I scared of? There's so many ways that I have like cushion all around me. And if I have to if I have to go into a negative, like, then what are you gonna do? You have to take that risk. It's awesome. So how would Tim Ferriss deal with that? The fear, fear of poverty.
Fear in
It's
general.
very Seneca inspired too, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I love his approach, and I think probably the easiest way to tell it is how he approaches fear is to tell his story, right?
Yeah.
So he had this business. He was working freaking 7 days a week, 18-hour days, and then he just got to the point where he was just like, "Fuck it, I'm done. I'm gone." So he took a trip to Buenos Aires, something like that, He left for Buenos Aires. He was just like, one way, I'm going. Whatever happens to my business, happens to my business. He goes, fuck it. If it goes down the tube, it goes down the tube.
Yeah.
Right? If I lose my house, I lose my house. If I fucking worst comes to worst,
if I get sued,
if I get sued, whatever, I'll deal with it. Right?
It got that bad.
Yeah. Well, that was in his mind. He's like, hey, I need to change something in my life. What's the worst that can happen? And he just sort of went through like, what's the absolute worst that can happen? Mm-hmm. So he went,
give your fear a name.
Yeah,
and
he went way far beyond it. Like, okay, somebody sues me, and then they come find me, and then they spit on my head. And I mean, if that's really the worst that can happen, how bad really is that?
Yeah.
I mean, is somebody going to come because he closed down his business? Is somebody going to come take out a hit
how
on
bad
him?
would it
like,
be? Yeah.
No, I mean, what really is the worst? So, okay, he loses his business. Maybe he loses his house, he loses his car, bank account goes to zero.
I think what's liberating after something like that happens is that you're still standing there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you could have, like, negative to your name and, like, you're still standing there.
You're still alive.
You're still alive. You're still here, man. You're still kicking.
So he lives in his fucking parents' house and whatever. I mean, he's like, worst case scenario, I'll fucking crash at a friend's house and I'll go bartend.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the worst that can happen...
That's how scary is that?
How scary is that?
A lot of people just live off being a bartender.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or it's like, so what's the worst that can happen? My business fails and I lose, a couple $1,000 and I have to go back to where I was, which is, I have to find a job in the same field that I was at and I can catch back up in a couple of months. Or I have to sell my place and downside and I have to move in. Like, is that really...
I gotta sell...
Is it really that bad?
I've got 2 cars and I gotta sell 1 car.
So really... And you know what? The other thing that Seneca also says, and Tim Ferriss has mentioned it before, is wear... Like, be in a poor man's dress. Like, dress like you were poor for an entire week or whatever it is. And go and experience what it's like to not eat like good, like nice round meals on a daily basis. And see how bad it is. Like, is it really that bad?
Is it really that bad?
Would it get that bad? Would
Yeah.
you get there? And like, is it really that scary once you've gone through it? Or even if just you did a mental exercise just to see what it would be like.
Yeah.
Is it really that bad?
Yeah, exactly.
And if it's not, and you're still letting it hold you back, then the problem is you. Like, you are the problem.
Yeah.
You need to get out of your own way.
Yeah. Because if you've been employed and you have any sort of education, you are employable. McDonald's is always hiring. Walmart's always hiring. Tim Hortons is always hiring. So if you had to go get a fucking 1-bedroom apartment for a basement apartment or a room for $400 a month, I'm sure you could work at Tim Hortons for $400 a month.
I know.
I mean, if that's the worst,
Yeah.
that could absolutely happen to you.
There's enough that you can do. You can go to a freaking library. You can go on the internet. There's a lot of job centers. You could do, like, there's so many worst case scenario things that you can go and do and figure out.
So if that's really
hard.
the worst case scenario, what's really stopping you from taking action and becoming an entrepreneur and going after your dream? Because if this is your dream up here, and this is where you're at, and this is where, I mean, it's minuscule. This is where you're at, and this is worst case scenario, but this is your dream.
Yeah.
The upside
is so much better.
so much better than the minuscule negative effect.
Yeah.
Absolutely worst that can happen to you.
So I've never heard someone say minuscule.
Minuscule.
So I didn't hear anything you said, but minuscule. Can it be said that way?
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know.
Minuscule.
That is awesome.
Minuscule.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. So, I mean, the fear of poverty, if you were actually to live it and you were going to experience it, here, let's say you're living at a 6 right now, right? Let's say 10 is like you're super successful. 6, and your worst would be maybe a 4 or a 3. Like, that is your worst. Like, that's the worst that could happen.
Yeah.
Is that you're temporarily...
Because you could think that's absolutely worst, but honestly, is that
It's
really
only
the
a
worst?
4.
We live in a first world country.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a house to live. There is no war anywhere around, so
How
nobody's
bad
got
is
a hit on you.
I know.
There's no way it could be a 1.
You know,
right?
a friend of mine that
we don't live in the ghetto.
I'm going to try and get her on the show. Marley is her name. And she had this story. She's the manager at the yoga studio I go to, and she sprained her ankle. So I'm like, what the hell happened? How come you're limping? And she's like, oh, I sprained my ankle on my trip. So she was in Mexico, in Cancun. I think after like 3 or 4 days of dancing and enjoying and having fun and going to the beach and all that stuff, she sprains her ankle. And like, she could have went in a downward spiral and be like, how could this happen to me on my vacation? Perfect timing, great. Like, now what? I sprained my ankle. Now I'm like freaking stuck to the bed. And like my foot has to be raised. And like I can't have any fun anymore. Just complaining. You could just be self-flatulating. You know what I mean? Just shitting on all over yourself. And then she goes, has her breakfast the next day, and she sees a woman with her 2 kids, and she's in a wheelchair, and she has no legs.
Wow.
And it's like, what the hell am I complaining about? Like, some people don't even have their limbs.
Yeah.
And I'm complaining about having a sprained
ankle. And they're still here enjoying with their family.
And they're still here. They're with their family. They're on vacation. They're having breakfast. It's like, okay, you need some freaking perspective.
Yeah.
You
didn't lose your fucking foot. You sprained it.
There's always someone who's happier with less than what you have. There's someone happier.
Absolutely.
So you got to learn how to be humble and accept that type of, that type of mindset where it's like, wow, you're the one who's telling yourself that story that it can be that bad.
Yeah.
It really isn't that bad. And don't take it, just from us. Do a mental exercise or even literally do it yourself and go beg for money on the streets and see what it's like and see how bad it can be.
Yeah.
And live in those shoes. Go to a homeless shelter. Go to one of those food banks or whatever it is and see what it's like. Can it be that bad? That's what Jesus did. You know what I mean? That's what the story was.
Oh, yeah. Man. So yeah. I mean, good points.
Yeah. So that's big.
6 fears. Timothy Ferriss. What's the worst that can happen? Because when you give fear a name, and you see really how bad can it get, what are the chances really it would get that bad?
Mm-hmm.
Not at all. And what are the chances of success? The chances of success far outweigh your chances of failure.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
What are you reading?
Well, there's just this cool thing that he's saying. It's like, just associate with people who stop associating yourself with people who accept poverty. But instead seek the company of those who demand and receive riches. And that's going to be one of those things. If you're around people, or you're listening to this podcast, this is like part of yourself being around people who demand and receive the type of life that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And you need a little bit more of it. Yeah. It's going to help.
It'll be impossible to fail if you surround yourself with people like that. The energy that you'll get from surrounding yourself with successful people, you have no choice.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be impacted by those positive people.
Exactly. And here's our next one: the fear of criticism. So being criticized, like what are people gonna think of me?
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna be picking up the phone and I don't want people to reject me. So people take it very personally. So what does it say? Just how man originally came by this fear, no one can say definitely, but one thing is certain, he has it in a highly developed form. So there are a lot of different ways that we fear criticism, and there's some symptoms here. So look, criticism is the one form of service of which everyone has too much. What? Everyone has a stock of it, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so the symptoms of the fear of criticism. So if you fear criticism, it can come out in your life in these types of ways. So the fear is almost as universal as the fear of poverty, and its effects are just as fatal to personal achievement, mainly because this fear destroys initiative and discourages the use of imagination. So if you're worried about what other people think, it's going to limit your ability to imagine. Yeah. It's going to limit your creative capacity. You're not going to be as inspired or driven to go after what you want, because you're going to be like, oh, I don't want to do that. Like, I might lose friends. I might not be able to relate to my family anymore.
Well, when you really take a look at that fear of criticism, if you're afraid to be criticized, you're not living your life.
Yeah.
You are living
it for everyone else.
The life of somebody else.
And they don't really care as much about your life than you do.
Yeah.
Only you care a ton about what, where your direction is going.
So do you want to live life for yourself, or do you want to live your life
for other people,
for somebody else?
Mm-hmm.
That just doesn't even make sense.
So here it is. So here is one symptom: self-consciousness. So if you're nervous, you're nervous meeting strangers. You're awkward. You're shifty-eyed, right? So if you're pure self-conscious, you're like, oh my God, like, what are they thinking of me? And like, they're looking at me really weird, and like, oh my gosh, I wish they weren't looking over there. Yeah. Or lack of poise expressed through lack of voice control, nervousness. The people who crack. It's like, oh, hi, hey, how's it going? It's like, yeah, that someone's not sure of themselves. They're kind of worried about what you think because they're kind of uncomfortable. Personality, lacking in firmness of decision, personal charm, and ability to express opinions. Definitely, that's an interesting one. Personality. You know what? Like, yeah, that's true. If someone is like, they're sure of themselves, they have conviction in what they believe. Yeah, it's different than someone who is worried about all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Inferiority complex, the habit of expressing self-approval by word of mouth and by actions as a means of covering up a feeling of inferiority. Dude, that's exactly what we were talking about. So inferiority complex. So it's like you're trying to just tell the whole world how much you approve of what you're doing, like how great your life is. And that's to cover up everything else that you're not doing,
Yeah.
that you're insecure about. You're kind of overcompensating with how great some things are here, when really what really makes a difference in your life and your personal satisfaction is not being taken care of. Yeah. Extravagance, the habit of trying to keep up with the Joneses, spending beyond one's income. So it's like
overcompensating with
material things, thinking that that's going to satisfy you, thinking that it's going to fill you up.
No.
More possessions and more things, and getting the next new gadget, next new car. You think anyone cares?
No, empty.
It's empty.
Trying to buy feelings.
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
And you know what? I think it's kind of like drugs, right? I mean, if it's one of those short lasting drugs, like if you have a drug that lasts maybe 10 or 15 minutes and you're high from it, right? Those types of people get problems because they always have to continually get more and more and more because it's so short-lived.
Yeah.
If it's like, hey, Chris, man, I got this freaking brand new, A6. You want to go for a spin? It's like, oh, you got a A6? That's awesome. This car is beautiful. And it's like, oh my God, you're so lucky. And good for you. Like, good for you. You got a nice car.
Yeah.
How long does that last? It doesn't last long.
After that,
maybe after a week,
until the new model comes out.
After a week, like you might see people turning their
friend
heads.
Comes out with the A8.
I know. As soon as you get your iPhone, a new iPhone comes out, and like no one cares, man.
Nobody cares.
No one really cares, and that satisfaction that you get from showing off the new toys that you have, it doesn't last very long.
No.
So eventually, you'll need to keep up by getting new clothes, by getting a new TV, a bigger TV, and or someone gets a system, so you want to get a new sound system.
Yeah.
You get.
Are you trying to buy approval from other people?
Yeah, man, you're buying approval. That's man.
Dangerous. It's dangerous.
Lack of initiative, so failure to embrace opportunities for self-advancement, fear to express opinions, lack of confidence in one's own ideas, giving evasive answers to questions asked by superiors. Yes, wow. So, your lack of initiative. That means you're not going after what you want. Like, here's an opportunity. You recognize an opportunity, but you're not going to go after it because you're scared of what people think.
Yeah.
And then lack of ambition. So people who are lazy, lack of self-assertion, slowness in reaching decisions. All these different things are all the symptoms of the fear of criticism, fear of what people might think because of the unusual thing that you're doing with starting your own business. You're crazy.
I think the other thing,
no one's ever done that.
Big picture, you got to realize. We have to realize as well, and everybody who's listening, you got to realize as well, is if you want to be great in life, you're gonna have people that love you, and you're gonna have to have people that hate you. Yeah. You can't get to that level of greatness without both sides.
Yeah,
everybody. Right? Look at Steve Jobs with Apple. There are people that fucking despise Apple. There are people who absolutely love Apple.
Yeah. People who hate him, people
who love him. Donald Trump, right? People who love him, anybody who's ever achieved greatness in their life, whether athletics, business, whatever, right? You could be Michael Jordan. If you're in Chicago, people love him. If you don't live in Chicago and you live in
they might not like him.
LA, they hate him. Yeah. But greatest of all time.
That doesn't matter.
Criticism comes with greatness. You can't have it without it.
Yeah.
You're not going to get approval from everybody in life. Mm-hmm. And if you're trying to live your life to please everybody, you're not going to please anybody.
You're trying to have always the best headlines and trying to have everyone's approval. Not gonna happen. You're not gonna get anywhere in life.
And if you're afraid of that, and if you want to try to get everybody's approval,
I think the most important approval that I think might hold people back is the approval that they need from their significant other. I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges that people face, and as well as for their closest friends and their family. If they don't have their approval, it's like, oh man, I'm in the same house as someone who just does not believe in my dream.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell do I do? Like, that's tough.
That's a tough spot.
And not like I don't want to sound like we're not compassionate, but like that can happen. It's going to be challenging.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
to have people in your life that don't support, right? Don't support your vision. They don't support your lifestyle and what you're trying to do, or maybe they feel like they're being left behind or something like that. And you know what? That's something that you have to face, man.
Yeah,
like, you have to deal with it.
You have to deal with it.
You have to deal with it. You got to figure out, what that means to you. How important is it?
Yeah.
Right. And I think you have to try and get their, support. Yeah. If not just their approval, just be like, hey man, you just got to trust me.
Yeah.
That this, and this is what I'm going to do. You have to be behind me, because any type of small, speck of black in this white paint is impure now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I need my thoughts pure. I need my surroundings pure, because this is where I'm heading, and everything is impacted by my energy, positivity, initiative towards that which I want.
Yeah.
So please, just if it's negative, don't say it, don't share it, because it's not conducive to what I need to achieve.
Yeah. I think that's a great point.
That's what you got to do.
You don't have to approve of what I'm doing, but support. Yeah. Just support me. Support my decision.
You might not like it.
Yeah.
But you have to understand this is what I need to do.
Yeah.
I
think that's a great point. And then, look at the big picture. I think what a lot of people don't realize is, if you look at the big picture, if you, if you're my friend, you don't approve of what I'm doing with my life, but just support me. If you don't provide me that opportunity, I'm going to live the rest of my life knowing that I didn't at least try.
Mm-hmm.
And that could end up ruining the relationship, especially like a husband and wife, right?
Yeah,
5, 10, 15 that
regret can turn into resentment, and
that's a slippery slope.
Yeah,
yeah. Especially as that resentment grows,
and you carry that with you, and it builds up.
Your fault. I never tried this. I could have done this with my life, but you didn't.
You didn't let me, and you know what?
You got to think big picture, man.
You got to think big picture, and you got to take ownership for your vision. It's your vision.
Yeah,
it's your goal. Your achieve. You can't have anyone else buy into it if you don't fully buy into it. If you fully buy into, this is where I'm going, this is the type of business I'm going to build, this is the type of success I'm going to create for myself, and this is the reason why, if you don't buy into it 100%, it's going to reek of doubt. It's going to reek of fear, of criticism.
Yeah.
And that's why you see people like Steve Jobs who are they have complete conviction. Donald Trump, conviction. They just this is what I'm deciding, and that's it. And that's where we're going. And there's no what do you think? Should we go with this building, or should we go with the other building? No, it's yeah, okay, we're getting this building, and we're gonna turn it into this so that we sell it for this, and we're good, done. Let's go. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. If it doesn't work,
we gotta go. We gotta make it back from something else.
You gotta do something else. Exactly.
Next. So I think that's huge, man.
Yeah, they have that. Really, they outweigh, right? The benefits, the risk, reward. I mean, they understand.
So what do you guys think? I mean, you probably resonate with some of that, because I know I've gone through fear of criticism, and that's why I used to seek approval of other people and just be like, oh yeah, this I've read this book and that book, and I know this much about this topic, and I'm pursuing investing in real estate and all this stuff. And that's just because you want their approval. You want them to give you some good vibes, right? Yeah. And then eventually you evolve and realize, right, that's not important. What's important is that I approve of myself.
Yeah.
Is that I buy into it, and I truly believe it, and I know what's coming for me, and I know what I'm after. And that's it. Everything else doesn't matter. It just falls to the wayside, right?
Good point.
And this last one that we can talk about is the fear of ill health. I don't know why, but this one is it's almost it's like the fear of death, right? Like people fear dying. And
my phone died.
Your phone's dead?
I don't know why. I just want to see the time. How we're doing on time. Oh, yeah, it is
Man fears ill health because of the terrible pictures which have been planted in his mind of what may happen if death should overtake him. Huh. I think it's just a very, victim type of mentality.
Yeah.
Disappointments in business and in love stand at the head of the list of causes of fear of ill health. A young man suffered a disappointment in love which sent him to a hospital. For months he hovered between life and death. A specialist in psychotherapy was called in. The specialist changed nurses, placing him in charge of a very charming young woman who began to make love to him the first day of her arrival on the job. Within 3 weeks, the patient was discharged from the hospital, still suffering, but with an entirely different malady. He was in love again. The remedy was a hoax, but the patient and the nurse were later married. That's so funny. That's pretty funny, man. Oh, man. It is a little too much. Yeah, I don't think we need to go into this one too much.
No.
It's not as... I don't know if people fear illness as much as it's saying here. What do you think?
Fearing ill health?
Yeah. Some of the symptoms they talk about is autosuggestion, the habit of negative use of self-suggestion by looking for and expecting to find the symptoms of all kinds of disease, enjoying imaginary illnesses and speaking of it as being real, the habit of trying all fads and isms recommended by others as having therapeutic value. So I guess it's like you're a hypochondria.
Yeah, I don't think maybe not as much.
I don't think as
day
much.
And age.
Maybe not.
I could see maybe in 1930s.
Yeah,
but
you can die from stuff.
Yeah, where your life expectancy was 40 years old, 50 years old. Mm-hmm. Now, I mean,
yeah. Well, I guess that one doesn't apply as much, but the other ones that they have,
I could definitely see there. I mean, I know there are people out there like that.
Yeah,
I personally know people who are like that.
That it limits them. That it limits them.
Oh,
it's like you're sick again, or really? like you're trying to self-medicate yourself with all these different things.
Yeah. So I know personally there are people, but I don't think it's probably as prevalent now as it was back then.
Mm-hmm. And then the other ones are fear of old age, fear of death, and worry, destructive thinking. So there's so much stuff here. I mean, it's funny how in this super powerful and positive book it ends with the 6 fears.
Yeah, interesting.
That's
good.
I think that says a lot. I think it just means that you got to make sure that you're aware of what these 6 fears are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true. Does anyone close this up?
Yeah, cool, man. So, any final words that you wanted to say?
Oh, you know what? I want to talk about Brooklyn. So we had an interesting sort of 2 weeks with Brooklyn. So Brooklyn's my youngest, just turned 5 last Saturday. And so we were at swim class last Tuesday. So swim class started last Tuesday after you got back from Niagara. So that day.
Yeah.
So it's a summer swim camp. It's a summer swim class. It's every day where traditionally we were doing just the homeschool lessons, which were just once a week. So new instructor, new class, same pool, right? Yeah. Everything. So he was doing this class, but it was just him and his brother. And then, so the instructor took his brother and he was left on the stairs, right? And I think my understanding is from what I think is he felt abandoned. So I think that's what he's afraid of. Fear of abandonment. But even though his brother was 4 feet in front of him, the instructor was 4 feet in front of him, he was just sitting on the stairs alone, and he sort of had this fear for a while. Right? Yeah? Just sort of fear of being left alone. So it really sort of came out this weekend or last week, and we've been trying to work him through this for the past 2 weeks. So I've been trying to talk him through it. And I think, he's still only 5. I don't think he comprehends everything yet. Yeah. Where I'm discussing. I'm telling him.
So we're talking about today.
Yeah. So I'm talking to him, and really, what's the worst that can happen? Really, what are you afraid of? Like, are you ever really alone? If you're afraid of being alone, are you really ever being alone? Because if you are ever really alone, then mom and dad are probably going to jail. Right? You're never really alone. There's always somebody around.
Yeah.
I don't know if he fully understands it yet, and we're trying to discuss with him, really, what's the worst that can happen? If you're left alone, what's the worst that can happen? If you're alone in your room or you're alone on the stairs, what's the worst that can happen?
I mean, you're just there. You're just sitting there. So we're trying to work him through it. And it's not getting. I mean, I don't think he's fully comprehending it yet. So I'm trying to discuss with him. I mean, instead you're letting this fear take you over. You're not being happy in swimming. You're just sitting there being miserable. I mean, your happiness is right there, right? Going swimming and having fun. Your happiness is right there. Everything you want is right there. You just got to make a decision in your mind to go and take it, right? I can't take it for you. I bring you to class, but you're the one who's got to get in that pool and you got to take your happiness. It's your life. You want it, go get it. And he's just not fully comprehending it yet. Mm-hmm. So what we did is we tried a little experiment today where we put him in in the basement downstairs by himself, and we let him stay there for like a half an hour, just so that he understands that if you're afraid, I want him to learn that he's got to face these fears head on. And once he realizes there's really nothing to be afraid of. Okay, so I'm in the dark. Okay, so I'm in the basement. There's nothing happening. What is there really to be afraid of? Mm-hmm. Nothing, right? So we're starting to use, I want to start to use examples right now for him, because he's not comprehending. I mean, he's only 5, so he's not comprehending everything yet. So I want to try using examples to show him there's really nothing to fucking be afraid of. There's nothing. So you're in the dark. Who cares? You sleep in the dark. So you're in the basement. Who cares? You're still in the house. Are you alone? Not really alone. I'm right upstairs. So I'm thinking that's working, but I want to sort of continue that. But it just, I mean, these are the things that I want to instill in him now, where to show him there's nothing to be afraid of in life. What's really the worst that can happen? And if I'm afraid of something, just face it right on, right away.
Right away, yeah.
Do it. Go take, if your happiness is on the other side of fear,
you got to get to the other side.
Get to the other side. Make up your mind now to go through that fear and take your happiness. Take the life if that's the life you want to live, to be able to do things that you want to do.
Then you deserve it.
You deserve it.
Because you want it.
Go through it. And if you're going to let something like the fear of being alone stop you, that's a slippery slope, man.
And if you
live in that for a long time.
And if you delay it, the stronger that fear becomes.
The stronger that. And I think that's sort of what happened over the last 2 weeks.
It just gets bigger and bigger.
Right? Where on that first day, I should have just been like, you got to get back in that pool. Do it right now. And if you're going to cry, so you cry a little bit. But once you start moving in the water, you're going to forget all about it.
I know.
So I should have just had him get
back
how's he
in
now?
That pool.
So it's been challenging the past 2 weeks, because I think it has been growing. Not growing to the point where it's like he can never be left alone, but it's growing to the point where I think every time he feels that
he freezes
that feeling, he starts crying. So he's associating that feeling all the time.
I never see him cry though.
I know, that's weird.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah,
like he would hit himself really hard or something.
Yeah,
he would not cry.
No, injuries don't hurt him.
Wow,
but this
is
feeling,
internal. This is inside. Yeah,
it's in his head. So it's in his head, and I want him to break through that. So we're gonna work.
It's gonna be up to him.
Yeah, it's gonna be up to him.
Yeah, interesting.
It's very interesting.
I wonder what he's going through, eh?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know where it would have really stemmed from, but it must have been pretty traumatic for him to keep associating, being left on the stairs to abandonment. I mean, that's really
I wonder if it's abandonment.
Fear of abandonment. That's the closest thing I could feel. Yeah. I could think, because he was left on the stairs alone, but he was not really alone. I mean, his brother was 4 feet in front of him just swimming, and the instructor was there.
Huh.
So I think we just got to get. I got to get him.
And it's like before you turn 7 years old, like that's where you get all these associations and all these stories that you tell yourself.
So that's something that we really have to work on.
It's there for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And it's working you in it's owning you in ways that you don't even realize some of the stuff. And I think that's why that's really cool that you're hitting it as early as possible and kind of being mindful of that, knowing that 20 years from now, this is a huge lesson. I want him to remember. Figure it out, yeah.
I was afraid. I worked through this fear. I can work through anything. Because, I wanted to realize what's the worst thing that can happen. And if he can start to get those lessons right now, it's going to be incredible.
Cool, man.
He'll be able to work through so many things.
That's awesome. And I was telling him, I'm just like, when when it's silent and I used to be scared, I used to just like being here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like music in my head, or just like imagining things, and like I picture like when I was a kid, like just the dark is almost like a blank slate. Like you just imagining.
Yeah.
You could imagine
I was
so
like
much
that
stuff.
too.
Like that's how I felt when I was alone.
Yeah.
I guess it's different when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Because then you're scared of monsters.
And it's a second child too, because
Yeah.
he's never really alone. He's always with his brother. So I
Yeah.
think we're gonna start to work a little bit of independence into him, like alone
Yeah,
time,
that's gonna be
quiet time,
Yeah.
where he's completely alone, away from his brother, and he has that. He'll start to learn how to.
Do you guys ever
use
do
that.
individual time, like just you and Tristan, or like just you and Brooklyn?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
We do that sometimes. Yeah, I mean, so there are times where, like if Michelle's home, I'll take Tristan because sometimes Tristan just has class by himself, jiu-jitsu class.
Oh, cool,
so I'll
yeah,
just take Tristan by himself. And there are times, sometimes if
Because they have
like
different
the weekends
needs,
and
right?
stuff like that.
Each kid's
Yeah.
gonna have different needs, different wants, different ways that they want to be
Yeah,
loved, right?
yeah. But definitely as they get older, we'll start doing just alone time, separate time, or just with mommy time, just with daddy time.
Yeah.
Because that's important, absolutely. So that they have that fulfillment of, I just get my time with mommy or just my time with dad. But I also want him to get comfortable with alone time.
Yeah.
Like because that was a huge thing for me. I love being alone. Still to this day, I love my alone time
Because the alone time is, you're in good relationship with yourself.
with yourself.
Like
Absolutely.
you approve of yourself. You're okay with like, okay, this is what I believe, and this is what I want to do with my life, and I'm completely cool with it, and it doesn't matter what people think
Yeah.
because it's what's important to me.
It's what's important to me. I'm cool with who I am.
Yeah,
I'm cool
doesn't
with
matter, like-
my thoughts and my dreams and
Don't
my
care what
aspirations.
other
I don't really
people
care.
think and-
Exactly.
What other people are gonna say? It doesn't matter. Whatever.
Yeah.
They're gonna say what they're gonna say.
Yeah. So
That's part-
we're
that's
going to
part of
start
being
working
illegal.
that because Tristan now. Tristan had a little fear of being alone as well when he was a little bit younger. And
Yeah.
obviously, right, 4, 5, 6. He's fine being alone now. But we worked through a lot of those things when he was younger as well. His
Yeah.
fear of being alone. So it's only fair.
It's part of the
Gotta
process.
Part of the process. I got to work through with it with Brooklyn as well.
And as an entrepreneur, you're gonna be alone.
Yeah.
You're gonna feel alone.
Feel alone. Yeah.
That might be it. You might be scared of being alone because you're used to being in an office with a ton of people and
Yeah.
seeing the same people every day. You're an entrepreneur. You're like, you go downstairs. You're on the computer, and you're working, and like it's just you, empty house, or maybe like it's just you and your family. Like who knows, right?
Yeah.
But that journey is solo, and I think that's one of the hardest parts to go through is being okay with that.
Yeah.
Being okay with the fact that you're in a journey that very few people are going to relate to, and you're not going to be able to have that conversation with everybody
Yeah.
about what it's like, and you're going to have to find common ground elsewhere, because like the type of interaction you're seeking from people, you're not going to get it
Yeah.
unless they have a similar life as you. So you don't want to push that stuff on people that don't care.
Yeah.
People who will never get the whole entrepreneur lifestyle, you shouldn't try and interact with them at that level.
Right. Yeah, you're
You
going to
know?
be beating your head against the
You're
wall.
either, it's either maybe you're trying to show off that you're an entrepreneur, or that that you know so much more and that you're going to be so much more successful. Like, but why? Like, why do you have something to prove? Like, who the hell cares?
Yeah.
Like, everyone's doing their thing because that's what they think is right. And if what you think is right as being an entrepreneur has nothing, it's nothing bad. It's not bad to want to have a 9 to 5. Like you're not better than somebody else because you're an entrepreneur. Yeah. You're just different. You're just doing something else. With your life.
With your life. Yeah.
And so you got to be satisfied enough. You got to be satisfied enough and have conviction about this is what you're deciding for your life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what people think. If they think it's wrong, they think it's right, they think it's good or bad, whatever it is. It's none of that. It's what you've decided.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah,
Cool,
man.
Cool. Yeah. So those are the things that we've been working on for Brooklyn. Tristan's, he's really starting to come into his own, becoming a lot more independent, very sure of himself now, which is great.
There's something good about fear, though.
Yeah.
I think if you're never feeling fear, then you're not exploring anything.
Yeah.
If you get that feeling, right, of fear, then like something's changing.
Something's
like,
changing. It's good.
You're at a cusp. You're like about to break out of your shell, And are you going to decide to go the way of stepping into your fear, or are you going to go the way of, letting the fear eat you?
Yeah.
And that's a huge defining moment in your life. Like I told a story about my fear of going over the hill when I was in my Jeep. That fear, imagine, I wonder if I would have that lesson come to me again. Like if I went over the hill, I wonder if another lesson would have had to come and get into my head. Make sure you go forward.
Yeah.
You don't turn around.
Yeah.
You don't go back. But now, because of that, I can go back to that, and I have that story. I have that distinction in my head. I'm sure it would have came up again in my life, and I would have had to learn the lesson somehow.
Yeah.
Of not to turn, don't turn around, don't go back.
Yeah. You're so close to the top.
Yeah, you're so
Just
close.
go.
You're so close. You're not far away, man.
Yeah.
You're not far away from what you want.
Yep.
That's it.
It was like that story. The Acres of Diamonds. You're inches from reaching those diamonds, and you just stop.
That's the thing. Same thing with the 3 feet from gold.
Yeah. Or was that the 3 feet? It's the same story, basically.
Yeah, it's a similar story. So there's these guys. I guess it's they're mining for gold, and these people, they spend all this money on some really expensive equipment back in the day, and they're digging, and they find gold. They strike gold. Oh my God, we found gold! This is amazing. So you start digging up the gold. I'm not sure if I'm telling it right. Forgive me if I'm telling it wrong. And then they find out it's like, oh, there's no more gold, and they're trying to find where it continues. Oh, mosquito bite. They're trying to find out where it continues, and they can't find it. So after a long period of time of trying to find the gold, they throw in the towel. They're like, oh man, this is too much. I can't try anymore. So there's one guy who's, I guess, selling the shovels. He buys that land,
Yeah.
and he takes over. And they were only 3 feet from the vein of gold. So once the new guy started digging,
First day,
boom, struck gold. Millions and millions of ounces of gold.
Yeah.
Pounds of gold. And the people before them must be freaking kicking themselves to this day in their grave. Like, why did I turn around? Why did I let fear get the best of me?
Yeah.
I was only 3 feet away from gold. Wow.
Happens every day.
And if these stories don't mean anything to you and you don't get anything out of them, you got to look at yourself. You got to consider that. Like, why?
Got to look at yourself.
And if none of these stories have an impact on you, if none of these stories have any, if you don't find anything valuable from anything we're talking about, then you know what? You got to look. You got to look at what you're telling yourself, what your story is, and how is that serving you?
How's that serving you?
How's that mentality serving you?
Be part of that.
Yeah, and start that conversation with yourself.
80, 90%.
Yeah.
Just going to take what life gives you.
Yeah, exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with it.
You can do that.
But don't complain about it.
But that's not what we're talking about here at this show. It's about being a holistic entrepreneur. It's about reaching your potential. It's about, being fulfilled in your life. It's about, exploring and expanding and achieving greatness.
Yeah.
Your, personal achievement. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to do that, that's completely fine. But if you want it, these are the things that you need to keep in mind.
You want to go get it.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
I tell that to my kids. I told that to Brooklyn. I was like, listen, your happiness is there. You can go get it. But if you don't want to choose that, you're going to choose this.
Yeah.
But don't complain, because that's your choice.
Your choice. No one. I think that's another thing about successful people is that they own their decisions.
Yeah.
They take full responsibility for where they are. Like, my life is exactly the way I've decided it to be. None of this was forced on me.
Yeah.
Every morning I choose to go to work. Every morning I choose not to quit.
Yeah.
Every morning I choose to not pursue my business.
Yeah.
Every morning I choose not to work out. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a choice. No one's forcing you to do anything.
Yeah.
You don't need to get up out of bed in the morning. You don't need to go to work. You don't need to have a car. You don't need to pay your insurance. You don't need to pay your taxes. No one's forcing you to do anything.
You're choosing.
You're choosing to do it.
Yeah, that's a big thing that we instill.
Take full
in kids.
responsibility for your life. You've decided it.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Oh, got the tea. All right, so we will wrap this sucker up.
Yep.
All right, so you guys are watching Holistic Entrepreneur Radio Show live on Ustream every Thursday at 8 p.m. We're here with our guests. Well, co-hosts myself and Christopher. We have some amazing guests coming up on the show this summer. We are going to be going all summer long, I believe. We have some great people coming up. We have some people in the yoga industry. We have an artist coming up. We have someone in the real estate industry coming up. We have a lot of amazing, interesting people. We have a lot of people who are planning to make their second time around the show and continue the
Samantha's boyfriend.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of people that we need to get on the show, and there's this huge conversation happening. So we want you to know that that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. To spread the truth, to be a catalyst, to bring the people to you, people that you can relate to, and maybe have them share their story. Maybe you can relate to it. Maybe it'll help you make some decisions and take new actions towards what it is that you want, and not let fear get the best of you.
That's right. Got to push through it.
Yeah,
because it's your choice. You make that choice to push through that fear yourself.
It's your choice. Take full responsibility for it. It's no one else's job to motivate you but yourself.
Yep.
All right, guys. Hope you guys have an amazing week. We'll catch you next Thursday.
Next week.
Next Thursday. Yeah.
Next Thursday.
All right. Take care, guys.
See you guys.